All right, everybody, welcome to day 6 and the midway point of the 12 Days of Community, or TDOC, as we lovingly call it. So I want to thank you so much at the top of the program, of course, for everybody that has been with us every evening, or for those of you that when you can't even be here, you apologize to me, of which you don't need to. And then, of course, for all of you that are out there watching the recordings to keep up with everything that is going on. I so appreciate the love, more so because I do this for you and for the community. So I'm just so glad to get the feedback on how much you are enjoying all of the guests that we have thus far. Now, tonight's guest, which we'll get into that a minute, of course, probably needs no introduction, although I'll let her introduce herself. I only have 2 reoccurring guests for TDOC. Kimberly McAlinden kicks it off with me every year. And then Linda Courtwright has somehow or other now slid into the New Year's Eve slot and is my reoccurring guest for the holiday and saying goodbye to 2025 and hello to 2026, although I'm sure Linda's going to be well in bed before that even happens. Is that the case?
Sure.
Of course.
I'll read about it tomorrow.
Exactly. So we're not going to be on for the ringing of the new year, but hypothetically, we're going to end the year together, which I
Right.
do love. So I want to just, of course, go over a couple of housekeeping things off the top of the program because it's kind of occurred to me that those of you that are live, you are getting a lot of the details and the information that's in the chat. And those that are watching the recordings, of course, that's not possible. So while I don't want to run through all of the specials that we have offered thus far throughout TDOC, I do want to say to anybody watching the recordings, if you are unaware of the discounts offered from Kimberly McAlinden or John, who was with us last night, you will inevitably hear, of course, from Linda tonight if she has anything for us. If not, we'll be letting you know, of course, what she has for us in the keepsake basket. Even for myself, our skincare discount that we have going on throughout the week, there will certainly be much more added on, but I just want to say if you're watching the recording and you're unaware of these discounts, because of course there's codes attached to them, then please reach out to me. More than happy to let you know. Just don't want to take the time here for the programming to go through that. The one thing I do want to make sure I say to those of you watching the recordings, first of all, thank you so much for the continued love and support and the purchases that you've made throughout TDOC, mainly jumping in on the 5th annual Life and Rainbows Knit Along. Some of you that have already jumped in on the lecture that Linda and I, well, that's not a we, that's really Linda, but we're putting it on together. And many more things. Remember, every time you shop, first of all, you can shop multiple times. We will be more than happy to combine the shipping, credit you back anything that is due to be credited back to you, but you have to put TDOC when you check out in the notes or the comments section. For those of you live with me, for the most part, I've got a good idea of who's with me. Sometimes it's a little dicey, and you know what? I'm always going to call you because I don't want anybody to miss out on this amazing keepsake basket that we've got going on thus far. So that's kind of a good segue right now, first of all, to just give you a heads up on this keepsake basket and make sure everybody knows for every $10 that you shop with us through the midnight of the 5th, right? That will be the last, because then on the 6th, that's our wrap-up party when this basket is going to be announced. So through midnight of the 5th, any purchase you make for every $10, 1 ticket goes in for the drawing of the keepsake basket. And every guest that we have on has graciously donated something. That's why we call it a keepsake basket. It's kind of like a memoir of everybody that we've had on. And so, I mean, thus far, we have everything from roving to a crafting with Cotswold class. We've got a bracelet in here from Alpacalets. We have a really fun care package from our veterinarian and the driving home naked. You would love her, Linda. She was
I read
amazing.
about it.
Amazing. So the really fun care package with that and her children's book. And then from Frankie from Liberty Farms, we've got yarn, a tote bag, salsa, marinara sauce. And then now from Linda, we are going to have a graciously donated book coupling pairing, if you will. Now, I only have the Twisted Tales with me. You don't by any chance have
I'm so ready for you.
fabulous.
And
love that face.
The eye of fiber, right? There you
Yes,
go.
I have fiber. So I only have Twisted Tails left in stock, which actually I will just say at the top of the program, we actually do have just three of these left. I'm probably, even though I love my dear Linda, not necessarily going to carry them again. So for originally $29.95, these are on the website for $20, which is a 30% savings. I only have three of them. So snag them up if you don't have them. Otherwise, once these three are gone, then you, of course, can shop over on Linda's site as well, because I don't even have the other one anymore in stock. And a pair of those books, or one of each of those books, will go into the keepsake basket as well. So just to, guys, let you know a little bit off the top of the program there. So that's a little bit about our basket and all of our specials and all the things that we've got going on for right now. Couple of things to kind of kick off, as we have been doing every time, just doing some pattern share. So on my two dress forms, I'm like, on my two ladies, are actually the classic Hampton wrap. I was careful not to do that. Thanks,
Sorry.
So this is the classic Hampton wrap, but worn in two different ways. So it's a really lovely sort of shawl that I say you never have to zhuzh. So it just comfortably sits on your shoulders. You can wear it a couple different ways. I think it hides all the things it needs to hide. It's actually knit on a straight needle, not in the round. So you can also knit it according to your shoulder width so that it fits you appropriately. We have patterns in both the fingering weight, which was the original, and then people loved it so much that we also then redid the pattern to adjust to our sport weight. So you can wear it as kind of a wrap, like a little capelet there. But almost my favorite is you can double it up around your neck and wear it as a nice squishy cowl. So it has that adjustability. And depending on the yarn you choose, it really is a 4-season piece. So it's something that you can get a lot of wear out of. Most of my longtime lifers, I'm sure, have made several. It's been one of our workhorses. So I'm just trying to shake up the patterns that you guys see each time. Now, what I'm wearing is, of course, one of our crochet patterns, because last night I felt like I did not give John any justice by having a crochet pattern featured. So this is the Montauk Lacy Scarf. Now, I did not even plan this because I can't think that far ahead or that great, but we actually have a crocheted version of the classic Hampton wrap. So it's using this same motif, but the same style as the classic Hampton wrap. So one skein of fingering weight yarn, or approximately 400 yards, is going to get you a scarf. And then 2 or approximately 800 yards, you can actually do this same crochet piece in the style of the classic Hampton wrap. So that's just a little bit of like, look how I tied that all together. Aren't I amazing? So that's something I just wanted to say. Hopefully John is going to be with. Yes, he is. Good. John, I'm sorry. I did not wear it last night. So this is for you. With that, I'm just going to segue for a second because I don't totally remember the story. So Linda, I would like for you to help me because I purposely chose to wear this jacket. So can you remind me and tell the story behind this jacket? Because actually, guys, I bought this off of Linda years and years ago, and I absolutely love it and glad I can still wear it. So, and I remember it had a really cool story behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I purchased it directly from a weaver in India who was making them for Hermes in Paris.
That's it. I love that.
It was a little off label, we call it.
Well, that's
So right. Yeah, I was allowed to a very limited number. They sold quite quickly, and there you go. It does, and it looks great. And you bought that at New England Fiber Festival.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't remember if I bought it there or at Rhinebeck. I couldn't remember because those are usually the two places I see you. I didn't remember. But I remember I wore a gala for you the one time when you were coming to gala. And so that's the only thing. So this is woven.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing. That must
silk.
be the finest weaving. Yeah, it is silk and it's just divine. So I had to wear it in honor of you. Plus I feel like, we're both kind of, it's festive. I feel like it's sort of black tie affair since it's New Year's Eve. So this was my fanciness dressing up. So
it's just black. Not black tie, it's just black.
All right, well, just black. So it's for the holiday season and for the hopefully festive evening. So that's a little bit as far as what I'm wearing, just to do those product shares with you. Our yarn feature for tonight is so simple for me, and that's because it comes from this lovely lady, which I don't know. We got to find out. So far, the last I heard, there's like I can see her face. Last I heard, there's not any more in sight. So foreshadowing, let's enjoy it while we can, folks, because I was able to buy up a couple of batches of this yarn and roving, and thus far I've not heard that there's any more to come, at least at this point.
But
And
it's shearing season. It is shearing season down there.
and oh, you know what? I guess it was funny because when last we spoke, I was thinking, shearing season corresponds with our shearing season. So
Southern
again,
Hemisphere.
I know that this is, like this is what we do, is all different parts. I talk about this and what you taught me so much because, originally when Linda was I were chatting and she was just kind of looking to scale down and more focus on certain things, she's like, look, I don't really need to be in the yarn business. I'm like, well, guess what? I am. And I always love things that are super unique. Now, while I can't say that I sheared this, of course, it still is tying to somebody that I love dearly, and it still has a great story behind it. And one of the unique things is when I started to research a bit about the Falkland wool, the one thing I remember calling Linda and I said, okay, look, I'm still in regardless, but here's what I don't understand, because I'm Googling and I'm seeing Falkland wool that is like dirt cheap, and I don't understand. So all I was like, just explain to me why. Why is yours different?
Mhm.
So, and then not only that, the characteristics of it. So do you mind just sharing about that? Because I thought it was so interesting. Because
Yeah.
to cut you off, but I think that's such a good point because it's also like you've taught us before. I know, but it's like cashmere, right? Like you can get cashmere sweaters at Old Navy, and then you can get cashmere sweaters at Neiman Marcus, and there's some loophole there, right, of how those all fall through the cracks, but are still called cashmere. So
yeah, we can do
okay.
a whole lecture on that again. So the down and dirty about Falkland wool, and I'm just going to here to say to you, if you ever have the chance to go to the Falklands, jump on it. Absolutely jump on it. It is one of my most favorite destinations, and it is also the only place, short of going to Antarctica, where you can see over 2,000 king penguins,
I'm like,
literally.
she only wants to go there for the penguins.
Selling point, gotta tell you. In any case, so what makes the Falkland wool different than I carry? Of the 500,000 sheep that are raised in the Falklands, with the ratio of roughly 3,000 people. So figure out, those you want to hop on your calculator, how many sheep that is per person. Is that 90% of people, okay, who raise sheep have always done it as a numbers game. You're alive this year, you're alive next year, call it good. All right. And that is historically how it has been done for more than a century. As I'll say, the boutique knitting world started to really gain traction at the turn of the century, a friend of mine from Europe has gone around and really started cultivating specialty yarns and began working with a group of truly organic Falkland farmers who were doing selective breeding, who were actually breeding for micron count and not for meat, which is where the vast majority comes from. And so this Falkland yarn is at about 19 microns, which if it came from a goat, that would be considered cashmere, Army Navy cashmere, but it would be cashmere.
And
And
I'm only going to say, I thought so the tags say 18.5 because that's what you told me originally. But I just.
I just play it safe. I mean, 18.5, in case some of you decide to get out a micrometer and go, oh, see, it's 19.1 right here. I found it. So yeah, no, it is beautiful. You, one of the drawbacks of Zoom, you can't touch it. But let me just tell you, it is just heavenly. It is also classified as the whitest natural yarn, which is a classification, I
This
believe,
was
of
the part that I didn't even realize or understand. I love this part.
so So I believe it's a 1A classification, but don't hammer me on that. And the reason is that because the Falklands are so flippin' windy, no trees go. And as a result of no trees, you don't have any vegetable matter, right? And for anybody that has ever picked through a raw fleece, has ever dealt in any type of form, the thing that immediately not tarnishes, but dirties your fleece is the fact that when you process it, that VM gets broken down. And in China, where there are plenty of trees, but in China, where the bulk of all wool is processed, the way they get rid of VM is they carbonize it. And the act of carbonizing actually damages the wool, and that's part of where you lose softness. So you get this beautifully dyeable wool that is incredibly soft, this incredible white that also hasn't been damaged because it doesn't need to be carbonized. Did I hit? Is that was that the point you
Oh
were?
no, and also, I mean, at least the part that I also remember too is the fact that they spend most of their time along the shoreline. So between the wind and the water, just kind of being,
Oh, yeah.
and
The
like you said, just keeping the fleeces clean. I just never thought about even the smallest amount of VM, in our white sheep here, that how that tinges it. Um, it almost kind of makes me think of like your teeth from drinking coffee or what, but
no, 100%.
but I never put two and two together. I mean, until you like shared that with me, and I just think that's fascinating. So, and it really is because what I used to say prior to this, when I would have like white picket fence, which many of you know, like any white yarn, I would say to people, this is as white as real white gets because otherwise a commercial white yarn is bleached.
You're right.
Like
Absolutely.
it doesn't exist. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
And the other thing that affects the color is the level of lanolin content. So lanolin is also going to cause discoloration. And because they have a comparatively low level of lanolin, which is more of a genetic component versus an environmental, that also enhances that brilliant white.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. And again, I feel like every year things tie in for one reason or another, but this is a yarn that Kimberly McAlinden had been wanting to work with. So while the pattern is going to work for any fingering weight yarn you choose, it doesn't have to be mine. Remember, that's the significant part about this. We just want you to join the community. But if you so choose, this is the yarn that she's going to be working with in its natural state. However, I will say that over in the box over there is a bunch of this that has been dyed in 5 different solid colorways that would also work for the knit along. Maybe if you stick around after Linda leaves, you might get a sneak peek. So anyway, I know.
Such a tease. Such a tease.
Oh, it is what I do. Now, the only thing I will say too, though, is because my website, I really have to update all of the roving choices. This is really the last of the Falkland wool roving that I have, which is the same as the yarn. So for any of my spinner people that are out there, if you're looking to get your hands on that, and I have not updated my site as of yet, you can always just give me a call. Happy to let you know because if I have it, it's yours. Just not always easily on the John. I might take that. Well, as of right now, this is the last of it until I get that phone call. And again, Linda's on notice, so she knows. I see her in the chat. So with that, that's our product share, except oh, that's our yarn feature, if you will. The product share, I already mentioned that when we were talking about her donation for the keepsake basket that I've got 3 of these left. Guys, this is like a plug for Linda. These are the most amazing coffee books. I mean, again, I will say, if you had never been a subscriber of Wild Fibers, which I'm sure she'll quickly talk about in her own introduction, the pictures are amazing. They're all hers. The stories are absolutely amazing and captivating. They're all hers. And what I had learned was once COVID hit, that really shut down the magazine for Linda. And what I learned was that it took her 3 years of traveling to be able to just make, right?
Mhm.
One
One
magazine,
Great.
which is amazing. And there was only 4, right? Every year, was it quarterly?
For the first, yes.
I know my stuff.
I
So
great.
these two books were a compilation of photos and stories that she had not yet included in any of her subscriptions. And as we all had to pivot during COVID, this was her pivot to put these two beautiful coffee books together. So anyway, that was that. The last. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this without putting it on the table. So I told you guys the other night when we had our veterinarian, Melinda McCall, on, that it was just an appropriate segue to not only introduce you to the new wool wash, yarn wash, even shampoo, organic, made in Vermont that we do now carry as a result of my friends Heidi from Dirty Girl Yarns. I also said that I put these silly little Llama Do candy dispensers on the site because who just doesn't need to laugh? And Linda's looking.
It's a candy dispenser?
Mhm.
Does it come out its bum?
Mhm.
That's just wrong.
No, it's not.
Wrong.
It's great. So when my
Here, want one?
when my llama bestie Carol and I were traveling to Iowa, and as I said already, the story, we always have to stop at the world's largest truck stop, and it's quite amazing. And that's our tradition. And in stopping there, who knew that we would find a Lamadoo, which is a candy dispenser. So then, of course, Carol is on this like peril, to find how we can get our hands on these things. And as best as she can find, we've got to order from China, and you have to order like 1,000. And I'm like, Carol, I'm out. I don't need it that bad. Well, she kept on it like a dog with a bone, and then called me. Or when I saw her the other week, she's like, you'll never believe, I found a wholesale candy distributor right on Long Island that carries them. Now, needless to say, I was Googling a little bit, and there's candy distributors everywhere that have them. But thanks, Carol, for finding one right in my backyard. So I had just been meaning to drive over and pick them up. So I show up there today, and it was crazy, guys. There was just aisles and aisles of candy from floor to ceiling. I was like, I would die. But anyway, here's our little Lamadoo. So it comes with a package of candy. Now, I will admit, disclaimer, you can't really fit a lot of candies in it, so you have to reload, if you will. But the it's Linda's face. And if you're on the recording, you can't see her face unless she says something. So the head comes off, and you put the candy in the head, and then you put it
No.
on, and then you put the stop, and then you put the head back on, and then you're on a table, and you push his butt, and then the poop comes out, and it's candy.
Someone is getting paid to make this shit up. All right. And that's really distressing me. All right. I'm gonna leave it right there.
Is it any different than a Pez dispenser? Come on.
Yes, it's a lot different. It's a lot different.
The head open of some really loved cartoon character of some child, you're just cracking the neck back and stuff coming out its throat. I mean, at least this is appropriately coming out of its butt. It works better on a hard surface. Trust me. Okay, it really does work.
Do you send like instructions with it? Like, and
There
how
are,
to improve your technique? That's what
but
I want to know.
I will say I had to read the instructions, but it's little diagrams. They're very cutely packaged. Look, it's $3.50 if I'm correct. Maybe that's even too much. Maybe it's $3.25. I don't even remember what it is. It's just for fun. When you're shopping, who doesn't want to put one of the who is not going to be bored at work and wants to keep banging on a llama butt to get a piece of candy out? $3.75. Sorry, we inflation. So anyway, and it comes in 3 different colors: pink, orange, and gray. There you go. Okay. I think that's just a gem. And you know what? Some people even bought it without seeing it. So there you go. They think it's fun too. Oh, see? All right. Well, there you go. Eva says, oddly enough, it'll apply to, you know what? It could be a pill dispenser if it was small enough. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm just cracking myself up here, and it's not even New Year's Eve yet. So Anyway, that is like pretty much all the fun feature I have. Here's my digress, guys. Recipe share. So last night, I started to turn it over to friends because it's not like I have a whole big repertoire of baking and cooking things, although I do have some other things coming down the pike. So I will remiss. And Ms. Linda Court right here, she suggested pecan squares. And Erin is going to drop the recipe in the chat. I did go out and made sure I purchased everything I needed for it. I just didn't leave myself enough time, and my day was going to get away from me today. So I pretty much knew by like late morning that I was going to digress and I was going to commit to making it at some point throughout TDOC. So pecan, I don't know which it is. So either way, I will be making it. But I got to tell you, folks, the hard thing about this is like over here, I'm the only one consuming that green bean casserole so far. And you can only eat so much of it. But it actually really is tasty, John. I did, however, make over my pumpkin protein bowl. I made that again today because it's so quick and easy. And if you've not tried it yet, I even shared it with a friend today who thought it was fabulous too. So just saying, if you need a little low-cal dessert and some extra protein, it's a good way to go. All right, I'm done. See that? Oh, all right. Well, we had a lot of banter back and forth, and I already had you jump in on some other things as well. So usually I can get done by about 7:20, but I digress. So either way, guys, I want to see in the chat. I want to see, look there, she drops it in again. I love that, given the macros and everything. There we go, folks. I want to see you drop in the chat. If you are new to us at TDOC and maybe have not had a chance to hear the likes of Linda Courtwright of Wild Fibers. I don't know if there's anybody on here that is new to her. I, of course, would love it if there was. Even if there isn't, there's always another story. There's always something new to learn. But I just thought it'd be cool to see if we had anybody new with us to Linda. So I would say probably then with that, since I don't see anybody dropping anything in the chat, you could probably keep your intro brief. But at the same time, oh, no, but I'm just saying, at the same time, I think it's always so fascinating. Oh, there we go. Lynn Hill says she's new. So wonderful. And also Alice, really? Wow. I'm surprised, but great. So there we go. We do have new TV. So forget it. Go into the detailed introduction. I'm here for it. So anyway, I'm going to let you take it away. There's so much to tell. I don't know where you want to start, where you want to go, but that's the surprise.
Well, thank you. Thank you. As always, it is always a unique experience, Tabitha. It's a great way to celebrate New Year's Eve. Truly, in community. Absolutely. You achieve your objective by bringing people together. And for me in particular, I appreciate it far more personally than I do professionally, for sure. It's fun for you and I to do this. Tabitha and I have known each other for all our careers started almost about the same time. I think we've decided that it's pretty much, on par. How many years have you been doing this?
About 25 now.
Yeah, and I'm into my 22nd year.
I mean, like technically I started breeding llamas in 96. So, but I don't know which first gala I saw you at, but that was probably had to be where it would have kicked off since you're a regular in that community.
Yeah. Well, for the people who have never heard of Wild Fibers, and by gosh, we're glad to correct that now. And it'll probably also give context to this conversation because I'm really not going to talk about yarn per se. I'm definitely not going to talk about knitting styles or patterns, all the things that I think, the vast majority of you, just really revel in, and that's great. It's wonderful. But I got into this industry as a cashmere goat farmer. So Tabitha and I have always sort of had, muck boot bonding. But it's also when I started Wild Fibers back in 2004, it was very, very much a new thing to be connecting the producer with the end use consumer. It really was. And it also, because of my own experience as a cashmere goat farmer, led me to say, wow, we look at the American wool production industry, which, unless you are living out west and are ranching, thousands and thousands of sheep, it's more along the lines of people like Tabitha who have, I don't know what you're told, but let's say 50 or fewer animals. That's probably ballpark. We are privileged in this country, many of us, to do small scale farming. All right. And yet for me, I was really interested in sort of getting into the trenches and learning about people for whom their livelihood depended on it. And that then opened up all of these doors throughout the world because we've been raising fiber animals virtually from pole to pole for, millennia. So that was the genesis of Wild Fibers magazine. And as Tabitha said, it would take me about 3 years collecting stories and then distributing them through various issues to do an issue. And yeah, COVID proved sort of an insurmountable hump. And I will also say that for those that continue to be in the print industry, have at it. It's great. But it is a very different business model than it was when I started in 2004. So the reason I love to come on, I have to be careful to say TDOC and not use some other bad acronym that might just fall out of my mouth.
Okay. I do it too. We're still in the rebranding process. It's okay.
So in any case, what I love is that as a writer, I am truly just sort of inherently a storyteller, but also with that storytelling comes this great desire to share information about the world, like going, oh my God, you're just not going to believe this. And I feel particularly passionate because I think in the world of knitting, where and yes, again, I'll say it has changed so much in the last 20 years, but there is still so much more out there. And so tonight, I asked Tabitha if I could talk a little about my new hot button. But before we get to that, I need to back up and go to our discussion about our necks. All right, and neck warmers. Um,
I didn't know where we were going. I thought we were going back to the New York Times discussion.
no, now that we're being recorded, we don't. No, people will think ill of me. Um, So I now write an article usually every other Sunday, pretty close to every other Sunday, about it's the same content of the magazine. It's called the Sunday Read. Yes, it's wonderful. Please subscribe. I would love it. You get
And Erin
discount.
did drop the information in the chat, everybody.
Right. So it's on the website. But every, like $4.95 a month, right? I mean, everybody, God, I just I am not a big fan of social media. Hats off to you, Tabitha. You are not a writer. I need more than, a paragraph to do my job. And so I write, upwards of 2,000 words, which is, especially today, that's long journalism, 2,000 words. But I feel like it gives you some depth to the stories. And every year at Christmas, I do a story that's fiber related sort of, but it's always also a free article. And this year's story was called A Kiviot Crisis at Christmas. Now, I'm hoping everybody knows what Kiviot is. If you don't, you can pop on there and go like a thumbs down. Like no judgment here. Kiviot is a billion times more expensive than cashmere. It comes from a muskox. It is just super, super heavenly. And in the premiere issue of Wild Fibers featured a muskox. There we go. I'm going to spell it Qiviut. All right, Kiviot. And see, now I can stop because I, taught somebody something, so I feel good about that. So Kiviot is, unless you get it from the muskox farm in Palmer, Alaska, is typically caught, coned off of, and it's a secondary fiber. It typically comes from the hide of an animal that has been shot by an Inuit, either in the Canadian Arctic, in Greenland, or in the case of Alaska, there is the farm. It's it's just sinfully gorgeous. And I'm a cashmere farmer. So you can imagine I have a pretty high bar when it comes to something that's soft. Well, a couple of years ago, I was doing a story. I used to go to Alaska regularly. I used to lead tours to Alaska, and I purchased directly from an Inuit a hand spun, so it was extra luscious, a hand spun Kiviot neck warmer. Oh my God. Like you can just put your fingers in it and it would just feel warm. And it is like it's my winter uniform. And I am a pretty avid walker and I live in Maine, guys. High today was 16 degrees. And I put on my Kiviot neck warmer. I wear my buffalo wool socks. I'm just this, walking poster board of wild fibers. And off I go. And depending upon what it's like out, it sometimes starts to get a little hot. So, the neck warmer comes off and it goes into my pocket. Fine, all good. Well, I need to tell you that I no longer have cashmere goats, but I do have a pet porcupine named Penelope. And Penelope has been with me for 3 years. She has a penthouse in my barn. She's the sole occupant. Okay, it's rent controlled. It's all good. And she is so, you know how porcupines walk like they're actually stepping on needles, like ooh, 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 ooh. It's that real sort of stutter step, right? You never see them move quickly, and you also think, you know what? They look a little stoned, right? They're just kind of not in it totally. And I love Penelope. And if I'm away, if I'm off on a tour or whatever, like one of the things I'm looking for pretty quickly when I come back is like a Penelope sighting. I need to know that, Penelope's home. So last Christmas, a couple of days before Christmas, I was going out to dinner one night. It was dark because it gets dark here, like 10 of 4. And I'm got a long, long driveway, and I'm going down the driveway, and there's a dead animal on the side of my driveway. And I realized from a distance that it's Penelope. And I, I am quick to tears because I've just so connected with Penelope. Like I said, I don't have a dog anymore. I don't have goats, and I adore watching her. And as I got closer, pretty quickly, this grayish brown lump was actually my Kiviot neck warmer. It was not, it was not my porcupine. It was my $400 neck warmer that had fallen out of my pocket, unbeknownst to me, had probably been run over by the UPS man. And because I'd been so hot and sweaty, there was a lot of moisture into it. And as I stopped the car and I went to go pick it off the pavement, it is frozen solid to my driveway. I mean, it is harder than a frozen chicken breast, folks. That thing is just because there had to have been enough moisture in there to just turn it into this block of ice. And I'm thinking, like, I'm late for dinner, etc. And I literally, like, I think like it's wax or something. And I should be able to, like, scoop my nail underneath this, neck warmer to peel it off the driveway. Yeah, like, that's not happening. So I quickly go out to dinner. I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And Tabitha said last week, she goes, well, why didn't you pour hot water over it? I'm like, no, it's Kiviot. Like, no. Like, you don't keep, I shouldn't even run hot water in my house, right? I mean, it's going to destroy it. So the next day I go out with a stack of dish towels and a hot water bottle. And I put the dish towel on top of the neck warmer, and I put the hot water bottle on top of the dish towels. And I think, you know what? This is going to, like, gradually, it'll be just right. The temperature change will be slow. I won't risk any damage. And after like 10 minutes, nothing's happening. Like nothing, nothing, nothing. I'm like, you know what? To heck with the dish towel. So I take the dish towel off. I'm like, I'm just going to apply it directly to the patient, right? I'm just going to full on take it down there. I begin to continue to sort of like swab it like it's a gunshot wound, right? Patting it up and down, patting it up and down. It's too cold. Hot water bottle, not hot enough. Outside, too cold. The only way, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So you know those emergency road cones, the orange ones, like you see along highway construction, except you like pass them for 5 miles and there's never any highway construction, right? You know those road cones. Well, I have a pair in my garage. Don't ask why. And so I go and I take this orange cone and I put it on top of my Kiviat neck warmer so that heaven forbid the UPS man doesn't run over it again. And I then wait 6 days until a rainstorm came and the temperature warmed. And I went out and I removed the cone and I easily lifted the Kiviat neck warmer off the driveway. I brought it in and rinsed it out and let it recuperate there, lying flat on the kitchen counter. And that was my Kiviat crisis at Christmas. And the best news is I celebrated this year by posting a video of Penelope because really, had Penelope been dead, that would have been far more upsetting than losing my Kiviat. So that was this year's Christmas crisis of Kiviat. And people, and for those of you, if you have any Kiviat, you would have done the exact same thing. I don't doubt it for a minute. So there you go. I had subscribers from Whitehorse, Canada, up in the Canadian Arctic, where muskox are local. And she wrote into me and she said, "Oh my God, I would have done the exact same thing." And then she showed me pictures of all of her hand spun, hand knit Kiviat. It was just like this great, great connection. So,
At least the good news was you didn't have to wait till like an actual full fall months later.
can I tell you, I actually thought I was pretty smart putting that road cone on top of it. I thought that was, like a clever way to, um, why didn't you use cold water? In hindsight, I probably could have, but I was scared that it was so cold that it was going to just add to the freezing component. Um, and as a segue, and I said I want to talk about Greenland, I've been talking to this woman who runs the only Kiviat company in Nuuk in Greenland. And when she buys the muskox hides, she actually purchases them from the hunters straight at the slaughterhouse. And well, they're already dead because they're purchased from the hunters. But when they process the meat at the slaughterhouse, she is standing out the big like garage back door of this slaughterhouse where they literally chuck this entire muskox hide and she has to catch it before it hits the ground because it is so cold it will freeze immediately to the ground. It's an interesting thing that some of these things that are just, luxury fibers have a story that is far from luxurious behind it.
And I love Beth Dearly in the chat there who asked the question about why didn't you use cold water? That's because Beth lives in Texas. She probably has no comprehension of cold.
Well, right. Like literally how
Because
yeah,
I would think equally pouring cold water on it, it would just freeze immediately because it's just so darn cold where you
it's so cold. Yeah. No, I mean, the coldest temperature I've ever been in was at 46 below zero. And like you really do feel your eyeballs freezing. I mean, and you do not throw cold water on them to keep them from a little cold water here. So, all right. I want to get the group really involved in this next topic. Is that all? Is that good?
in terms of them conversating in the chat.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. They're just, I mean, honestly, you can ask them all. This is the quietest I've been the entire time. I mean, we're always just captivated listening to you. So the fact that I haven't even interrupted, I thought to myself, wow, people are going to be like, is Tabitha even there? So, yes, everybody is so active in the chat. So, I mean, I'm just going to let you run. They're going to pound away with questions, comments, whatever you like. And, you can certainly vibe off of that if you have an easy enough time telling your stories and watching it. Otherwise, that's what Erin's here for. But you don't have to ask them twice to jump in and participate at all.
Okay, well, please know that this comes from this viewpoint of someone who just loves looking for stories that I think aren't out there sort of in the mainstream fiber world. And that's what gets me really juiced. And so a lot of, I don't want to say goal because I don't have a goal, but I was like, part of the fun for me tonight is to sort of talk a little bit about this history of Greenland and sheep, et cetera, and really start to put it in context. And I'm just going to start by saying, if you took a map of Greenland and like laid it across the United States, because Greenland's the largest island in the world, if you laid it across like the middle of the United States, it would go from Alberta, Canada to the border of Mexico. That is how flippin' big Greenland is. It's a huge. I mean, I think that puts it in perspective to what we can understand. So in that huge amount of space, jump into the chat if you want to just guess how many people live there. Just pick a number, and like just know, like like seven. Seven probably seems reasonable. 5,000, 10,000, 1,000. Yeah, not pretty legitimate guesses. So, hey, you guys, okay. So, Nuuk, which is the capital, has 14,000 people in the capital. All right. There are 56,000 people in Greenland, but there are also 54,000 people that live in the Faroe Islands. Is that not weird? And the Faroe Islands are, like this little dot. So the next question becomes, how many sheep farmers are there? 56,000 people. How many sheep farmers are there in Greenland?
Everybody's a sheep farmer.
Yeah.
So guesses that we're seeing two.
Yeah. Right. So the lowest guess is, so be prepared, folks. How many sheep farmers there are? 37.
Oh.
37 sheep farmers. And there are roughly about 24,000 sheep. Now, I say this because, numbers are actually really important when you're looking at what drives the economics of wool, right? What's driving people to raise sheep? Is it meat? Is it wool production, et cetera? And Greenland, okay, there's the biggest PR fib. If you want to talk about fake news, let's talk about calling Greenland Greenland, all right? When Eric the Red went to Greenland because he got kicked out of Iceland because had killed a couple people, right? And so Iceland said, you need to go and you can't come back for 3 years. He goes to Greenland and he takes his sheep. And when he comes back to Iceland after 3 years, going, sorry, swear, won't do it again, promise. Even though his grandfather got kicked out of Norway because he also killed people. All right. They brought llamas. See, I knew I can get Tabitha to pay attention. All I have to do is say the word llama and she comes back to the screen.
Listening, of course.
No, so because the Vikings didn't don't leave home without your American Express, don't leave home without your sheep. So Eric the Red takes his sheep to Greenland, and when he comes back to get his fellow buddies to come back to Greenland with him, he calls it Greenland, thinking, well, that'll convince them to come. Yeah, well, guess what? 80% of Greenland is covered in an ice cap. So who are you calling it Greenland, folks, right? But here's where the story to me just blew me away. Why don't we know about Greenlandic wool? 24,000 sheep. Well, And they're Icelandic sheep. They are overwhelmingly Icelandic sheep. So here's the next question.
Wait, the same breed we have here or different?
Same Icelandic, absolutely, because
Well, I
you're
didn't know if there
Greenland.
was maybe a variation or if it was
Well,
like,
I mean, certainly you're going to have sort of somewhat of a breed differentiation just because, but no, they came they came originally from, well, the very first ones came from the Faroes, but the biggest import came from Iceland. Now, here's the question that I think I'm hoping somebody in your group knows the answer to this. If I were to talk about the original, or what we think of as the Icelandic, like Lopi sweater, right? Turtleneck, although not always, but sort of that yoke design. Does anyone know the history of that design? I'm sure you've got people here who are design. I mean, the first time I went to Iceland, which was 1976, and I bought my Icelandic sweater, which I still have, which
I'm
looks,
not leaving you while you're talking. I need to go get something because I want to show it to see if it resembles at all what you're talking
sure, sure,
about.
sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Lopi actually refers to the type of wool, not the design. Does anybody know where, like I said, that sort of, yoke, typically multicolored, um, originated from? See, now the questions are getting harder, right? All you had to do was just throw out a number before. That, no, no, no. That design originated from a pattern out of Norway in the 1930s when they decided to take the traditional Norwegian sweater, which was like a full bodied pattern. Okay. We think of sort of Norwegian ski sweaters that are also yoked. But I think hopefully everybody knows what I mean about an Icelandic sort of, a natural tone sweater. The transition to a yoked sweater pattern is based on the beading design out of Greenlandic costumes. So Greenlanders did not have a history, don't have a cultural history of knitting to them. They would typically have something made out of a seal skin, a polar skin, but then they would adorn it with all of these beads. And it was that beaded yoke pattern that became the template for creating these Scandinavian yoke sweaters, predominantly that we think of as the Icelandic Lopi sweater. And it has nothing to do with knitting at all. It was called the Eskimo sweater back in 1932 when the pattern was printed in Norway. And the reason it's objectionable is because the term Eskimo is no longer considered politically correct. So that is so much information about just some basic, I think, misconceptions, but also, who knew? Who knew there were 37 sheep farmers in Greenland, and I'm going to be profiling one of them. Now you went and got something, right? Go ahead.
I don't know, and I wish I could totally remember, but like years and years and like when I was a kid, my mom knew somebody. Now I know it's not Greenland, but I am pretty sure she told me that these were Icelandic sweaters. I
Hmm.
mean, I just didn't know if the pattern at all looked familiar or if it seems like it would because I know it's not American made. It's 100% wool. It came with leg warmers. That's how old, like how long ago. I mean, I got these when I was a kid and my mom and I had like matching sets. I mean, I killed the one because I wear it on the farm all the time. I mean, the leg warmers are long gone because God forbid we'd all be who'd be caught dead wearing those, although they're back again. But either way, so I just didn't know. I mean, that's what I was just told. I mean, I was so young. She knew somebody who I am pretty sure came back with it, and I know it's wool, and it's sturdy as hell. And I just loved wearing it on the farm.
Yeah, and that looks to me, and that looks much. There, I certainly am not going
But
I
those,
can't tell you iconography, but when
yeah,
I refer to yoke, I'm referring to, things that come, yeah.
yeah, Yeah.
fully down. But that looks, I mean, you're dating yourself by that one. That saw hasn't surfaced, but you know what? Hang on, because like next year it could be in vogue, right?
Hey, it's all right. You know what? It's got great memories. And like I said, and I know it's wool. I mean, so and it was just cool. So it was just as you were talking about that, I thought, well, I mean, what are the off chances, like looks familiar or rings a bell and like I said, I don't know where exactly they appeared from, but it's just one of my favorite pieces for sure.
And I think that's actually probably more also in keeping with some of that original design where the sweater was knit in pieces as opposed to a yoke sweater, which was knit from the top down. I mean, God, the
Yeah, and
days
everybody
before
actually who
Ravelry.
was in our knit along last year, and I'm of course looking to see, what I wore it last night, so it's upstairs, although the other one, but we did a very similar. Oh, there we go. Well, that was the color work, but we did a yoke sweater as for our knit along last year, and so probably very there we go. Somebody's got it up there.
There we go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That
that
was your
was
knit along last year.
So it was actually recreating, which I'd have to go run and get that. But Christopher, my husband, Christopher's grandmother was a knitter and had a bunch of sweaters that some were for him. And then I got gifted one in particular that I would wear all the time on the farm. And everybody would always ask about it. Everybody always loved it. What's the pattern? So ultimately, our knit along, our workshop last year was color work. But then Kimberly used that sweater as the inspiration to create a sweater with a similar design and then a cowl and a hat to go with it. But, that yoke style. So, yeah.
Is she going to create leg warmers too?
Hey, you know what? I would, because now I don't care what people think. I would totally rock leg warmers. Come on. And I know somewhere along the line they came back again. I mean, I think they kind of came back and went again. But, at a certain age, who cares about trends and fashion? Really, do we? Who are we trying to impress?
I think your llamas care. I think they care a lot.
I don't think they're that judgy. My peers certainly aren't either.
Well, and just so you know, Penelope, no judgment at all. No judgment from Penelope whatsoever.
I love it. I love it. Animals are great for that.
So, very, very much. But I think so. So in the world of wild fibers, all right. To me, I had all every time I saw an Icelandic sweater, I was like, Iceland, right? Duh, Iceland, duh. Not oh, came from Greenland, and what's with Greenlandic wool? And now when you see a Greenlandic sweater, or what they now describe it as, it's almost always dyed and really, really colorful so that it's more representative of the national costume where it would have had all those multicolored beads. And I am not by any means a textile junkie at all. I can do like two paragraphs and go, okay, good. But when I see something that I think has sort of been, misunderstood and not intentionally, it's nice to straighten that, set the story straight. So on that note, I am happy. Look, Tabitha's like, and, and, and,
I'm like, you can't possibly be done. I was just waiting.
no. Um, on that, if you all can bear with me for one more story about Greenland. And
And wait,
this,
there's more. See, I told you you were not done. It was a pause for poetic justice there.
does that not blow you away? Like, does it come across like, do you see this gigantic man in this huge coat next to this sort of chic woman, right? Okay. Um, and notice the bookmark too. Um, because I'm, taking a tour to Greenland next year, it's my job to really understand as
And wait,
much.
have you never been? Have you never
Oh,
been?
wait, okay. Tabitha, have you? Like, have you never been to Greenland, Linda? Let's
I
cut this evening short. Like,
That
no.
wasn't oh, come on now. You have been everywhere. So it was meant to be a legitimate question with somewhat of a point of surprise because
Oh, that's exactly how it came off.
you've been
100%.
everywhere. So I was like, no, no, you know what? I think we need to play a game at some point. We could probably even make it a drinking game for that matter. Of like, but I don't think anybody would get drunk. It would be like, where let's find out where Linda has been. If she's not been, we take a drink. Like I think we would all be stone cold sober by the end of the evening. So I have to tell you, the
A
only
shitty way to spend New Year's Eve, I might add.
the only reason why I had to think like I don't think she's ever been here is for your level of enthusiasm. Not that you're not enthusiastic about the other places that you go, but I guess honestly, I am just genuinely surprised. Yeah, Ruth Ann, good old Ruth Ann. Ruth Ann's like, let's switch it around and just drink for all the places she's been, for sure. So, I mean, you really have been everywhere. So, you know what? I have to digress. So, you have to tell us what are some other places you haven't been before
Oh
you
my,
get
it's a
into.
long list. It's a
Oh, it
long,
can't
long list.
be. It can't be. This world
No,
is
it
not.
is. There are 192 countries in the world, I believe. 192, 194. I haven't even been to 100.
Okay, have you've been to all continents?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. There. So if we just need to like start there and like pyramid it. But I mean,
Hey,
I guess if you're going to get technical in terms of all the different countries, yes, there's a million and one different little countries, but I mean, by far, I think you all have to say, hands down, you have traveled more than anybody I know. Is there anybody else you know that has traveled more than you?
oh, sure. You know what comes immediately to mind? You want to know who are really crazy? I mean, really crazy travelers. This is really are birders. Birders travel all over the damn world to go see something that weighs, less than an omelet, right? And they're I can't like they're looking through binoculars. Like, see that thing? See that blue-breasted double? Like, oh, for God's sakes, it's a bird. Now, okay, I get it. I get it. They love it. It's really important. I feel the same way about sheep, and Lord knows about my porcupine. But like I am not getting, well, I guess actually I am getting on a plane, aren't I? In any case, that argument fell through kind of quickly.
Yeah, you're just putting like holes in this argument all the way around.
Right, right. But I mean, this is the whole thing is that yes, my friend who is the premier birder, he has individually spotted over 10,000 birds. Can you imagine being his wife? But he also worked in State Department for years. So, I actually met him in India. And, so he's assigned to places where it's a little bit easier to access some of these places than, those of us who live in Union, Maine. Going back to where we started, Greenland, the book cover, etc., bring this around to fibers. Or do you want to take us back to drinking? It's your choice.
That is not even, trust me, that is not even the highlight. It was just the fact. It was just,
Although I am drinking polar seltzer, so that seems incredibly appropriate.
there you
Appropriate
go.
with
There.
a polar. So I started this conversation with Kiviat, and I said it came from the muskox, and I referenced the muskox farm in Alaska, which is really the only, and I must say legitimate, but I mean they have 76 muskox. It has been running since the 1960s, and it is the basis for the women's knitting cooperative called Ummingmak in Alaska. Wonderful long story. Those muskox that are living in Palmer, Alaska, are from muskox that were transported from Greenland in 1932 and brought to Alaska because the muskox had been hunted to extinction. And when I say to people, when I announced this Greenland tour, that I had been wanting to go to Greenland for years, they were like, oh, yeah, it's because Greenland became hot. I was like, no, we would not have a Kiviat industry in the United States if we hadn't brought 34 muskox by plane, by train, and by boat, all the way up to Fairbanks, Alaska, including 30 days in quarantine in New Jersey. So I think so again, it's that sort of whole misconception that we have the Greenlanders to thank for our muskox population. Now, what goes even crazier is when I went to Banks Island in the Russian Arctic, which is the largest, and well, it's the largest nature preserve in the Arctic. But they reintroduced the muskox there. Guess where the Russians got their muskox from? They got them from the US. They got them from our stock. So interestingly, the Russian muskox are the American muskox, which are actually the Greenlandic muskox. And to me, that's just, you know, the world of wild fibers is so fascinating when you look at history, when you look at politics. To me, although the craft is what typically helps the story to continue, it's frequently not the start of the story, if that makes sense to everyone. So this is why I've always wanted to go to Greenland, because I was like, all right, just need to see where these muskox come from. And the muskox don't typically cohabitate in the same area as the sheep. If you've not seen a muskox, you think to yourself, yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's nice to have a nice woolly fleece as a sheep, but not compared to a muskox wool. So that was the big, aha for me for originally going to Greenland. And I, contacted Ellen Fredrickson, done a series of interviews. The story will come out this Sunday. But here's the part of the story that I just was like stopping people in the grocery store because I had to tell them about it. You know what I liken it to, and I thought of you, Tabitha, when I was thinking this. Now, we were talking about how most of us are at an age where we don't care about fashion anymore, or being, in vogue and all that other stuff. And it's also been, for me, a long time, really long, since I had a boyfriend and all I wanted to do was like talk about that boyfriend. Remember that stage when you're a teenager when that's all you go, and nobody's ever made me feel this way. And he's the most wonderful person. Like, and everybody's following the same script, right? And then you hear like a friend in their 50s, and all of a sudden, like someone hit rewind from a 15-year-old, and you go, are you not hearing yourself? Like, it's just the exact same crap. That's
Jade,
me. That's me when I get on a new fiber topic. It's all I want to talk about. I think it's the most amazing story in the world. I need to tell everyone because it's that exciting. And that's I have to tell you, that's what gets twisted in my head. So I want to just finish this Greenland story with the story of my love of Greenland, which really goes back to this whole thing of Eric the Red, the murder. Now, I think everybody probably remembers like hearing the name Eric the Red, in history class. And it's like, oh yeah, Viking. I don't know, like just you can't relate to Vikings. When you're in seventh grade, I don't know, Vikings, people with long hair, shields, beat each other up. I don't know. I never, and yeah, they just didn't do it for me. If you had told me in eighth grade that when Eric the Red's wife converted to Christianity, she stopped sleeping with Eric, I would have perked up. I guarantee you, I would have gone, excuse me? What was that? And at the time of Eric the Red and his son Leif, who actually brought Christianity to Greenland, when Eric's wife converted after going to Denmark, well, we won't do that again. Excuse me, after going to Norway, she came back as an avowed Christian. She was like, "You are a non-believer, and thou shalt not have any." And this was the source of great distress. Now, this is not the part of the story that gets me excited. It's the part of the story that makes people listen, just like me saying llama to you. It just, everybody gets brought back in. So there I am, like looking at about these sheep and the Vikings and their ship in Greenland because it gets called Greenland. So come bring your sheep. They probably had maybe estimates are like at most maybe 5,000 sheep. And now they've got 25,000, which actually, considering how the distance and everything else, doesn't feel like that big a change. But remember, 80% is ice cap, right? So you're dealing with a pretty small amount of, available land. So the Vikings hung out in Greenland and all was good for like 500 years. And then they disappeared. Okay? Like gone. Poof, vanish. Nothing. No milk cartons to show a picture. So and so is missing. Okay? They're gone. And the biggest story that circulated for like years, I mean, people wrote their PhD thesis on it, was that when the Little Ice Age came in the 1400s, the Vikings were so dependent on sheep that when the winters got too severe for the sheep to survive, the people couldn't survive as well. And because the Vikings weren't willing to adopt the ways of the Inuits, who are like, yeah, time to go out and harpoon another whale, all right, which were handling the Ice Age just fine, for the longest time, they thought that the sheep were the downfall of the Vikings. And I was like, Shazam. I had no idea, right? But it makes sense. You've got them, they're providing your food, you're buying your clothes. Blah, 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 blah. Fast forward, they find a floor loom, a proper floor loom, like sticking out of the ice. Because they did have weaving. They didn't have knitting back then. They did have weaving. They dig up this loom and they wind up finding all the things you find near 1,000-year-old looms. And they discover that, oh, as they look into these bones, they go, actually, turns out the Vikings were eating plenty of fish. They were eating other sea, they had a diversified diet. It wasn't just because the sheep were all dying off that the Vikings left. And it's now somewhat commonly believed that the reason the Vikings left Greenland or disappeared from Greenland was not because they were overly dependent on sheep. It's because they depended on the trade in walrus. And it's actually believed that Eric the Red may have gone to Greenland, well, A, because he had to leave Iceland, but it wasn't because he was looking for a new place to farm. It was because all the walrus had been hunted out of Iceland almost to extinction. Walrus tusks were, like gold back then. He goes looking for walrus, finds the walrus in Greenland. There's this great trade in walrus tusks with Europe. And as I say, the commonly held belief, which totally dispels what was believed for years, is that when the Little Ice Age came and trade dropped dramatically with Europe because of the weather, etc., it was because they couldn't support themselves, because they couldn't make it to Europe to trade the walrus tusks. But at the same time, trade opened up with sub-Saharan Africa and they started trading in elephant ivory instead. Unbelievable shift in events in terms of global economics, global climate, global culture, exploration, and the fact that sheep were, sort of always the finger was pointed as the sheep for being the ones to blame. 500 years later, the Danish government says, I think we should try this sheep thing again. The seal population is going down. The hunters don't have the seal, hunting numbers that they used to. Let's bring sheep back to Greenland. And sheep got reintroduced to Greenland in 1924. That's the story. To me, just an amazing story from so many different angles of where Greenlandic wool comes from and where it is today.
Well, since you talked about the fact that the Kiviat from Alaska came from Greenland, and then, for instance, that the Russians from us. So when you're saying they look to repopulate the sheep in Greenland, where did they come from? Do you know?
So great, thank you. So they got a Lutheran pastor. So let's
Why did I not even think that this was not going to be an easy answer, but another story?
well, because now you get two for one. Not only do you get to be the Lamb of God, you get to carry the Lamb of God. This is the person. This is exactly who they want. So they say to him, we've got sheep here in Denmark. And he goes, yeah, guess what? Denmark doesn't have a climate like Greenland. I'm going to go to the Faroe Islands. I think the Faroes are going to be closer to the environment they're going to experience in Greenland. And that's what he did. The first sheep, the test flock came from the Faroes. And then the second batch, which was, I think, 200 sheep, were from Iceland. So it's still that Northern European short-tailed breed.
Gotcha. But not strictly Icelandic sheep.
Yeah. So Iceland is a closed sheep community. You
But
cannot.
in terms of what's in Greenland.
Yeah, it's probably 98%.
Okay.
Yeah. And in terms of wool quality, it would be really interesting because they're both Northern European shorttail. When I go to Greenland, Tabitha, I'll look at that fleece and say, yeah. So in terms of, you know, the world of wool and all these things that just, make it, what does it mean to have a closed sheep community? We're not going to let you in, even if you know the secret handshake. And the reason for that, primary reason, is not just genetic purity, but disease. So many populations were just wiped out. And one of the reasons that the sheep populations survived in some of these remote communities like St. Kilda, Shetland, North Ronaldsay, et cetera, is because sheep weren't being brought in and were introducing disease. Do
And
you
that's a
see?
terminology that's used no matter what. I mean, even here stateside, if we use the term closed herd, that just means there's nothing coming in, nothing going out, that kind of thing.
Like my dating life, same thing. Nothing coming in, nothing going out, right? This is why I get so excited about talking about this history because it's fascinating, right? You know, you all could have gone the rest of your lives and thought that sheep were responsible for why Vikings disappeared. And it wasn't sheep.
Not to
It
mention
was
who is not like who this is the most fun you could have on New Year's Eve. Hey, we're all here. And
well,
I bet you there's not a single person that's with us now that's like, well, maybe. And then kudos to you. In my earlier days, we'd be like, 10 o'clock, we're just getting started. But I'm thinking there's not a single person on here that's like, whoo, I can't wait for Linda to get off. I'm going to get my dress on and I'm going to go out and enjoy the night. If anybody is, drop it in the chat. And kudos to you. You're going to have a free ticket in your basket. You just got to prove it. But I'm thinking for the most part, we're all just in for the night, enjoying your company, enjoying this community. And yeah, I really meant it. What's a better way to spend New Year's Eve?
well, I agree for many reasons, but I think it's just also, to me, doesn't it just enhance our overall appreciation of what we love, And it's like the lecture I'm going to do, and I use the llama picture. It is just such an incredible way to look at the world. And when you're knitting a project, whether or not it's something special significance in the pattern, whether or not you know the farmer, whether or not you know the llama, I think where we are really looking to have that form of connection, which is why community is so important. I think it just adds more to it.
And
Um,
what Linda's talking about, in case for anybody who jumped on late or maybe wasn't aware, and as I told her, some of you have already signed up already, but over the past couple of years, I mean, I think the first
so here.
year, so this will be this will be our third, or did we? Yeah, so I think this will be the third. So the past 2 years, we've done a lecture series. Now, I will say, and I'm not necessarily going to put Linda on the spot in that sense, but based on popular demand, I was getting questioned by the people as to whether or not, Linda was going to be doing another lecture series. So that was quite a phone call, of which I nearly just about twisted this woman's arm. And I was like, you have to. The people ask.
All right. Can I just
Wait. I was like, you cannot tell me there is not a single story, something, but here's what I do want to say. And I think, because I think I was thinking about this the whole time that you were doing your presentation tonight, while both you and I gladly and for any length of time can talk off the cuff and put together a really great presentation that people would admire nonetheless. I still know for you when I say, hey, will you do a presentation, unlike myself, which will utilize just what I have up here. And I'm not saying it's bad to do that, but I know that you almost can't do that. And you put so much time and effort. I mean, I literally was telling her, guys, this doesn't have to be complicated. People just want to listen to you talk. You don't have to do hours and hours of research and digging up archives of like dead people, from centuries ago and find some interesting facts. Like, you're interesting. And I think sometimes we're all guilty of forgetting just what we bring to the table for people, like what our talents are, because it's so hard to see yourself in that way. Yet I know how everybody else sees you. I know how I listen to you. So to your credit, I know that wasn't an easy thing for you. But, graciously, I waited and waited and waited for that phone call.
right? Try saying no to Tabitha, right? Try saying no.
It wasn't to me. It was saying no to these people. I mean, I could call you up any day and get stories I want on end.
Tabitha and I get together for sure once a year in person at Rhinebeck because our booths are across from each other. And if you have never exhibited at a show, some of you have, some of you, and certainly if you've never been to Rhinebeck, you can probably just imagine what it looks like in the 48 hours leading up to the show when everybody is fixing their booth and what did you say earlier? Zhuzhing?
Zhuzhing.
Okay, we don't say zhuzhing in Maine. I can figure out what it means, but like
you zhuzh things.
Yeah. Like I would say we tweak, like you go on a tweak fest, right? But it's like you go on a zhuzh fest, right?
Sounds a bit more violating. I'm zhuzhing.
I don't know, zhuzhing. But so there you are for like, like 24, 48 hours. You're just, and up and until like the first person comes into, the building, you are just, you know what? I think this sweater belongs over here. And you rush over the other side and you go, no, put it back over here. Blah, blah, blah. So Tabitha
It matters, though. I will tell you, from a merchandising standpoint, the direction in which people look, what they see when they walk in, whether things are high or low at eyesight. Nobody taught me this shit. I farm llamas, but I'm telling you it matters. And then you switch things from day one to day two, and then magically they find it. It matters. Now, do I obsess over it? Yes. There are times where I have to be like, somebody else take the wheel. Like, I have just got to back off because I will spend hours. You give me 5 hours, I will take 5 hours. But anyway, yes, I hate your setup.
No. So the point I'm making is that talking to Tabitha before the show is not an optimal time to catch up. All right. You get this sort of brief, very brief hug, grunt, acknowledgement. Very good. Get the hell out of my way, lady. I got to set up my booth. And I get it. All right. I totally get it. I don't take it personally.
Because mind you, folks, of course, this year she shows up on Thursday. I show up and I'm like, bitch, her booth is already set up. I was just like, I'm putting my shit all over her area because I know she's not coming here. And I mean, when I tell you my van vomits everything out, so I have to lay things out so I can get set up. I'm like, I'm just going to put it all around her booth. Watch her try to come in here because I'm sure there's no zhuzhing that's happening here today.
So this was fun. So 2 years ago, I never made it to the festival. I decided to spend the weekend in the hospital with a kidney stone. Really wasn't my first choice, I assure you. My friends, God bless them, set up the booth. Okay, they so did not tweak it the way I wanted it. They've got, look, I got so many pictures because that's not how you do it. So there was even that much more of an emphasis on getting it right this year. And someone says, "What is in Linda's booth at Rhinebeck?" I have a modest, but as seen in Tabitha's jacket, I have a in because I've been to a few places, Greenland not being one of them, from around the world. I will frequently come back with textiles from artists who I'm have been interviewing. So that's my way of, from Madagascar to Swaziland to certainly to India. So yeah, you don't have to, if you're coming into my booth, it's not because you're looking for a pattern or a project to make. It's all the work has been done for you. But this year I came down and I had so much PTSD from not being there last year. I'm like, you know what? I'm going down Thursday. So God forbid I'm back in the ambulance on Friday. My booth is set up the way I want it to be. So I set the whole booth up, tweaked it to death. And on Friday, I'm at my friend's house. And about, I don't know, 10:30 in the morning, I get this thought that goes, you know, Tabitha is going to come in and she's going to see my booth all set up and she is going to lose her shit. That's going to be like, that bitch.
That's what I said.
And sure enough, I came in Saturday morning, all smiles and hugs, like, hi, Tabitha, busy yesterday? So this is when we get to
Well,
enjoy
and
being with
mind
you.
you, we catch up in between because then the reverse happens. So on Sunday, close of the show, we're now frantically packing up, which, mind you, thank God, happens a lot quicker than setting up. This one across the way. Let me just put them in my suitcases. Beep, beep, beep. Carry your little suitcases. Off I go. I'm done. And she knows. Just be like, bye, Tabitha. As we're like frantically, because I'm like, we're on a time. Like if it takes us more than 3.5 hours, that's it. Like we're not getting bonus pay. Like this is all it should take us. But yeah, so it's funny. But we do catch up in between. And of course, I thought you were going to go into your funny stories of one time I had to dress you, and then one time you had to dress me or my ladies.
Right. I know. We do. We you see
Why didn't you have clothes? Because
what?
you didn't you have to wear my crocheted skirt one
I
time?
did wear your crochet because I think I was trying to wear it with a jacket, and because I don't have skirts or pants, I needed something to cover my bottom half with, which was my leggings. I have a picture from that. I was wearing your crocheted
I
skirt.
couldn't figure out. I'm like, why did she not have clothes? Oh
Yeah,
no,
no. It was
I
because
did that. I did that one year, and it was to Rhinebeck. It was the year you were in the hospital. We spent
mm,
the whole Friday setting up, and it was like late. And then we decide, all right, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, I realize I left my luggage at home.
it's a
I had
comforting feeling.
I had my bag of shoes, and I had my clothes, my like dress bag of tops. So I would have been selling garments in tops with no undergarments, nothing on my bottom but shoes. So needless to say, I mean, I had to go out shopping for everything. Every time we do these things, there is always something, right, that each of us come across, happens. We're like, let's check that off the list. That's never going to happen again. I mean, just always. There's always something. There's always something. But
2 years ago, the night before Maryland Sheep and Wool, which is a long ass drive from Maine, just telling you folks. And I rent a not a U-Haul, but like a super big, what I call it, like a Secret Service SUV, one of those just big black, because I am not cool like Tabitha. I do not want to drive one of those Mondo trucks that, like looks like I'm doing a drug deal. And I just, yeah, I need something more, like, or I'll get like a van and, like a soccer van. And it was the night before leaving for Maryland. And I got the little notice from Expedia where I'd rented it saying, time to check in, are you ready for your trip? Blah, 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 blah. And it flashed it up. And I was renting it out of, Augusta, Maine. I had rented it out of Augusta, Georgia. Right. It's May. It is college weekend when everybody's leaving. There is, okay, nothing to be had. Literally. There's nothing. I mean, I go, like I didn't go as far as Boston. I was not good, but I mean, I am Googling everywhere. I cannot get, a large vehicle to load all of my crap to Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. And I am doing this. Like, and in Maryland, I have a double booth, right? Like you have it, I got I mean, just your word props is not your things that you hang stuff on. What's the word? The booth shelves.
And your clothes racks and everything.
Racks, right? I mean, things like clothes you can fold up, yarn you can, but no. And there I am at 11:33 at night. I am in my bathrobe. I kid you not. I I literally, and my everything for the show is already, out in my dining room, all ready to be loaded. I start packing my car in the rain in my bathroom, 11:33 at night, to see just how much I can load in to the back. Like how bad is this? So, needless to say, have not confused those two Augustas ever
No,
since.
I mean, right, you can laugh about it now that it's done, of course. But I mean, I think that in itself, it's the humor, the stories, I mean, just all of that. And nobody here cares, but you just, I think sometimes wouldn't even imagine the stuff that happens, and the trials and tribulations of to just get to a trade show if you've never done it before. And I know there are some people on here that have, but not comical at the time, so not comical. I mean, oh my gosh, my first time showing up at the Fiber Festival of New England, I had actually ordered racks. I don't know why. I have no idea why. And they weren't there. Like nothing. The order had gotten screwed up or something like that. Thank God for whatever reason. Back then, my husband was trying to impress me and was with me. And because that's way done. And there he is running off to Home Depot at whatever godly hour it opens up. Because I just about blew a head gasket when we showed up the night before. And this was my first year there, mind you. Now we're all really good friends there. And that man was like constructing things for me to be able to just hang stuff on because I had nothing. I mean, they were offering me coat racks out of the office. I had nothing. So, you just always have to make the best of it, right?
But that's also part of why, you know what? And okay, the word I was looking for was fixtures. Fixtures was the $64 word. But you know what? And I'm going to go back to the word community. I think this is also part of what, and this is, certainly trade shows aren't exclusive to the world of fiber, but when you get into that, vendor community, okay, where you can't find your sisters. I forgot that, right? You're going and asking the person, two booths down, three booths down.
Everybody helps everybody.
Everybody helps everybody. And I think this to me, when I look at what being in, the fiber world has given me, it gave me a community that just certainly wouldn't have existed. And for me, it has given me a worldwide community for sure. I'm so grateful that, yes, I've had the opportunity to travel, but that, I have friends from Russia to Swaziland to Mongolia and that's actually, I don't think I have that many friends. But I mean, no, do you know what I mean? I really, that's, that's the reward, right? So, yeah, it's all good. Did you see what time it was, Tabitha?
I did. Can I just tell you when it went right past 8:30, I was like, I cannot wait to tell her she has sailed past her hard stop. This is a late night for her, folks. Usually when we do our lectures, it's like 8 o'clock. I'm done. And she told me she'd give me a hard stop for 8:30
But you
tonight.
want to know why that is? Can I tell you? So, you know why that is? As a tour leader and steps, all those stuff, as a tour leader, you have got to just be the bitch with the badge. Like 8:30 means 8:30 or we miss the plane. 9 o'clock means 9 o'clock or we miss whatever. And I find that almost at a subliminal level carries through to everything. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of professional conditioning on my part that a time stop is a time stop. So I
I,
I realize
I,
we wouldn't miss the point.
I'm only going to argue slightly that I think it also has to do with when I text you at 7 a.m. and I say, "Good morning, sorry for the early text," and you're like, "Isn't the day halfway done?" That would also be the difference
Yeah.
between us. I will finish this and I am supercharged and I'll be up for hours. I might even stay up for New Year's Eve just for shits and giggles. But I get so amped up and I'm more of a night person. You're more of a morning person. So, I think that's also it too, right? And everybody who's conditioned to get up that early, it's just natural. So, I mean, I really just saying that in jest, but I appreciate that you have a different time schedule, and rightfully so. So
Yeah.
there's nothing about it, but I can poke a little fun.
Yeah, no, 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 no. And it's funny. For years, I was always like 2 a.m., like never went to bed before 2 a.m. God knows never got up before 8 a.m. Now it's 8 a.m. I'm thinking lunchtime, right? Been up for 6 hours. Yeah, right. Yeah, I got up at 10 of 3. I got up at 10 of 3 this morning. And I was like going, oh, geez. And that was actually when you talked to me this morning, that was part of why I said 8:30, because I was like, oh, but like you
You get
said,
up and then you just stay up, or is it because you get up and you can't go back to sleep? Because we had these conversations in earlier TDOC lectures.
honest truth.
Yeah,
So when I told you like I was in love, like I have been so into this whole Greenland thing. And like when we talked to you this morning, you said, "How are you?" And I said, I think I said, I couldn't possibly better. And I said, I've just finished writing, 2,300 words. For me, writing is just all consuming. And so the second you wake up, for me, I am thinking about where I was in the story. What do I still need to find out, et cetera, et cetera. And it isn't until you finally go, done,
yeah,
and I will probably, I hope, probably sleep a little bit better tonight. So it's more a function
right.
of,
Getting your brain to shut off.
yeah, absolutely. But no, I have a friend who literally, like and she's my age and like she wakes up at the crack of 10:30. And I will tell you, I am so judgy. I am so
That,
judgy
that
about it.
that's a bit late. Like that's a bit late. I would be judgy too. I mean,
Right?
unless you have absolutely nothing to live for. Sorry, anybody, but that's a bit much.
No, she's a great travel buddy. She will never miss a plane. She's et cetera. But given her druthers, she just, and I'm like, how can you doesn't some part of your brain go, get out of bed? All right.
Maybe we're just jealous, but either way.
All right. So
So
I'm just gonna say, I hope somebody, maybe even several somebodies, learn something tonight. I hope you, come away from this, understanding how much I both appreciate and love Tabitha for what she does, that she's, included me for third New Year's Eve in a row. And then it also, like I said, it brings me into her community, but gives me an opportunity to, yeah, have some giggles. And if you got on before the recording, we definitely had some giggles. Nothing edited, folks, really. Um, but also to just share this amazing world of wild fibers. And yeah, we're going to do a lecture in February, and it'll be so since you're all part of doing teases, right? Tabitha being the queen of teas, I'm going to leave you all with this one little fact.
is this pertaining to the lecture?
Yeah.
Listen, it's
So
not that.
So here we go, folks. You remember when you don't have, but you remember when China gave us the panda bears back in the 70s? Probably most of you are. Tabitha, are you too young to remember that? When we got the panda bear, right here.
I mean,
Can
I
you
know that's where they came from, but I was probably too young
All
to.
right. Well, all right. So it was a big deal when Nixon went to China and we got Ling Ling and Sing Sing. All right. Ling Ling and
I
Sing
know,
Sing.
I remember those names.
Right. Ling Ling and Sing Sing gifted from the Chinese government. Okay. Great photo ops. There was Pat Nixon welcoming these panda bears. And I mean, oh my God, like so, I mean, they so would have gone viral, right? 1971, the panda bears definitely would have been viral had we had such a thing back then. And to me, what I remembered most was after several years reading an article that said Ling Ling and Sing Sing haven't done a thing. And that was to me was just like, oh, I kudos to that editor. But what I did not know, and what I'm going to guess everyone in your group does not know, I should probably put me on this, is that when we got those panda bears, Nixon gave the Chinese two muskox. Who knew that muskox were used in the world of diplomatic gift giving? And like, and as the head of the National Zoo said, I don't know, I feel kind of badly because I think we got the better end of the deal. Like, we got the really cute, kind of playful, panda bears, and we gave them two muskox, which is a fiber person. I like to say I find very offensive that he would, suggest that baby muskox aren't cute. So one of the things we're going to talk about in the next lecture is why we gave China two muskox and what the heck happened to them. Great story. Was that a good tease? I'm not a very good teaser, but was that
No,
good?
that was a great tease. I just know the answer, but it was a great tease. It was a great tease. So I'm just gonna say it's fun. It's fun. And look, guys, and don't wait, you just can't go until we pick a number. But I will say for everybody, if you've again, if you've not signed up already, remember there's no shipping attached to it. So like just get in. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. She says she's signing up now. So if you haven't already, I feel like for just $15. But we're only doing one. And look, I know the first year, I think there was three, and then we added on the fourth because Linda was like, and wait, there's more because everybody was loving it so much. And then last year we just did four right out of the gate. Like I said, I had to squeeze this one out of her. Now, if she comes back with
Like your candy dispenser?
Hey, I was gonna say, I was just checking earlier because I wanted to just like shove it to you. Other people have bought them, thank you. And not just one. Thanks, Jerry. So, I'm telling you, people are gonna be putting this on Instagram, videoing it. It's gonna be more viral than my deer I posted. So how could you not want one of these? Anyway, so Linda's doing one more. So again, guys, I don't remember the date. February, I don't know. I apologize. I don't have it off the top of my head, but
It's
I know.
the 10th.
Thank you so much. So February 10th, it'll start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will only run until 8. I mean, she's usually a little flexible because, of course, we do have a live Q&A where you can raise your hand, unmute yourself, ask questions. So a bit more interactive in that sense, but definitely a well worth thing to join if you've not joined before. If you have joined before, thank you. And both Linda and I thank you for the continued support. So before we give you your last words and then we will say our goodbyes and stop the recording, we've got, I think we only lost one person so far, but I mean, we've really been holding steady. So it says 31, but of course, then there's the three of us. So what are we at? 28. So I need you to pick a number from 1 to 28, and then that person is going to win a $25 store credit with us here at Life.
And the number is, it has to be 26.
Why is that?
Because we got to learn to start writing it on our checks, right?
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. Brilliant. Brilliant. So that was an easy one for me because there's 28, there's 27, and you'll never guess. And I'm going to say who this person is with the preface that this person is a perfect example of somebody who listened to your lecture series and then ended up traveling with you. So somebody else might also find themselves. Now, I know there's some Linda people that have come to this talk, but as far as somebody who was what I would consider a lifer and then met you and then ended up traveling with you. So Stephanie Scott, you
All
are
right.
her. of the
Great.
$25 store credit. And I was going to throw that in earlier because I did want to say, look, you never know who you're talking to, who hears you, who's captivated by you, who's inspired, to take a trip. And so remember, Linda does do these trips, and Stephanie was a perfect example of somebody who ended up being inspired and signing up to travel. So I think that's a pretty cool story. And congratulations, Stephanie, for winning the $25 gift certificate. So every night we pick somebody, and it's random, and it's up to the guest and picking the number and where you guys fall in my participant list. There's nothing fancy about it. So,
It
all
was
right,
totally random, for sure.
totally random. But
Yeah.
so parting words, ma'am. I before you would like to just say thank you. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for bringing so much to the world. I mean, I had always fangirled you from way back in the day before we got to be friendlier, and was always, just admired Wild Fibers. And I actually made a note. I know I still have plenty of back issues, so I'll throw in a couple of back issues also to the basket for the keepsake basket, just so that somebody can have some of those. I might even have a couple stashed around when I was finally featured in Wild Fibers, which was a highlight of my life, I might say. But, again, you're always amazing, always captivating. I could listen to you for hours. You have such a gift. And I'm just so blessed to have been able to bring you to this community, introduce everybody to you. And that's what this is all about. I mean, the whole premise behind TDOC was just bringing people to the forefront, introducing new people to each other, and just expanding our community and expanding our knowledge and sharing our love and sharing our passion, which you undoubtedly have.
Bingo. Said it all. No. 9 o'clock, another 3 hours. And we will officially say goodbye to 25. Hello, 26, right?
Going to
So
be a hard one, but yeah, I'm sure plenty of people are thankful for it. And either way, I hope you have a wonderful New Year's Eve, and I will talk to you in 26.
it's a date. Happy New Year to everybody. Truly, my big wild thanks to all of you for joining tonight.
Thank you so much, Linda. Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye.